The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's sky without warning. It was bigger than any city. Its dark metal surface covered in strange lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. People around the world stopped what they were doing to stare up at the impossible sight hanging above their planet. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the United Earth Defense Council meeting room, watching the news feeds from every major city. The alien vessel had positioned itself directly above New York, casting a shadow that covered half the state. She had been Earth's lead diplomat for alien contact since the first signals were detected 5 years ago. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. The communication came through all electronic devices at once. Every television, radio, phone, and computer on Earth spoke with the same calm, emotionless voice. People of Earth, we are the Galactic Council. We have been watching your species for 100 years. The time has come for your integration into galactic society. Your leaders will report to our vessel immediately for discussion of terms. Elena felt her stomach drop. She had studied every piece of information about the aliens they had managed to gather. The Galactic Council claimed to represent 47 different species across 3 arms of the galaxy. They spoke of peace and order, but the intercepted communications told a different story. 23 other primitive species had been integrated in the past 1,000 years. None had been seen again. President Maria Santos entered the meeting room, her face grim. Behind her came Admiral Sarah Chen, General Robert Hayes, and Dr. Marcus Webb, the head of Earth's Advanced Research Division. These 5 people made up Earth's Secret Leadership Council, formed the day they first detected alien signals. The shuttle is ready, Admiral Chen said, but I don't like this. We should be meeting them on neutral ground, not aboard their ship. Elena shook her head. They're not asking. This is a summons. If we don't go, they'll likely see it as an act of war. The journey to the alien ship took 30 minutes in their most advanced shuttle. Elena watched Earth shrink below them, wondering if she would ever see her home planet the same way again. The alien vessel grew larger as they approached, its surface covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly. They were brought to a vast chamber inside the ship. The ceiling stretched so high it disappeared into darkness, and the walls curved in ways that made Elena's eyes water. Waiting for them was a group of beings unlike anything Earth's movies had ever imagined. The leader was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Its head was too large for its body, and its black eyes had no pupils. When it spoke, the words came not from its mouth but directly into their minds. I am Ambassador Zekthai of the hegemonic Overseer caste, it said. I speak for the Galactic Council in this matter. Other aliens stood behind it. Elena counted 12 different species, each stranger than the last. Some looked like walking crystals, others like masses of flowing liquid held together by energy fields. One appeared to be made entirely of light. Welcome to galactic civilization, Zekthai continued. Your species has been evaluated and found to be primitively aggressive. This is not uncommon among young races. The Council has developed procedures to help such species evolve beyond their violent nature. Dr. Webb stepped forward. What kind of procedures? The alien's head tilted in what might have been amusement. First, all weapons technology must be surrendered. Your nuclear devices, your chemical weapons, your kinetic projectiles, all of it will be collected and destroyed. Admiral Chen's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Second, Zekthai went on, your population requires adjustment. 12 billion beings is far too many for a species of your development level. A sustainable number would be approximately 500 million. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. You're talking about killing 11.5 billion people. Not killing, the alien said calmly. Relocating. Those selected for continued existence will be moved to agricultural worlds, where they can contribute to galactic food production. The others will be transitioned to a higher state of being. President Santos spoke for the first time since boarding the ship. And if we refuse? The chamber fell silent. The other aliens shifted nervously as if the question itself was dangerous. No species has ever refused, Zekthai said. Such an action would be unprecedented. But if we did, Elena pressed. Then the full might of the galactic fleet would be deployed to ensure compliance. Over 10,000 vessels, each one capable of destroying entire continents. The alien's mental voice carried a note of something that might have been sadness. Surely you understand that resistance would be futile. Your species has barely achieved faster than light travel. Your weapons are primitive. Your technology is centuries behind even our oldest member species. Elena looked at her companions. They had prepared for this moment, but hearing the actual terms still shocked her. She thought of Earth's hidden projects, the secrets they had kept from alien observation for decades. The Council believed humanity was weak and primitive. They had no idea how wrong they were. She stood up straighter and looked directly into Zekthai's black eyes. Absolutely not. The silence that followed was deafening. The alien ambassador froze, its forearms hanging motionless at its sides. The other creatures in the chamber began making sounds Elena had never heard before. High-pitched whistles, grinding noises, what sounded like electronic screaming. I do not understand, Zekthai said finally. You cannot be refusing. No species refuses the Council's guidance. We just did, Admiral Chen said, stepping up beside Elena. Take your offer and shove it. This is impossible, one of the other aliens said, a creature that looked like a walking tree. They must not comprehend the consequences. Elena smiled coldly. We understand perfectly. You want to commit genocide on our species and enslave the survivors. Our answer is no. Zekthai's mental voice became sharp and angry. You are making a terrible mistake. Your primitive minds cannot grasp the power you are defying. The Council has maintained order in this galaxy for 12,000 years. Countless species have tried to resist us. None have succeeded. Then I guess we'll be the first, Elena said. The alien stood silent for long minutes. Finally it spoke again. We will give you 72 Earth hours to reconsider. Use this time to explain to your leaders the reality of your situation. When we return, we will expect your full compliance. Don't hold your breath, General Hayes said. We do not breathe, Zekthai replied, missing the sarcasm entirely. The shuttle ride back to Earth was quiet until they passed through the atmosphere. Then Admiral Chen started laughing. It began as a chuckle but grew into full, loud laughter that filled the small cabin. What's so funny? Dr. Webb asked. Did you see their faces when Elena said no? Chen gasped between laughs. I don't think they have any idea what to do with us. Elena wasn't laughing. She stared out the window at Earth's blue surface, knowing that in 72 hours everything would change. The aliens thought humanity was primitive and weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. As their shuttle touched down at the secret base in Colorado, Elena could see activity everywhere. Hangar doors that had been sealed for years were opening. Personnel who had been working in hidden facilities for decades were emerging into the light. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity was really capable of. Elena Vasquez walked through corridors she had only seen in classified briefings. The Cheyenne Mountain complex had been publicly abandoned 20 years ago, but in reality, it had become something far more important than its original purpose. The walls hummed with energy from systems that officially did not exist. Admiral Chen led the group deeper into the facility. They passed through multiple security checkpoints, each one scanning their DNA, brainwaves, and quantum signatures. The final door required all 5 council members to place their hands on scanners simultaneously. The chamber beyond took Elena's breath away. It was enormous, carved from solid rock and filled with technology that looked decades ahead of anything the public had seen. Hundreds of technicians worked at stations surrounding a central holographic display that showed the entire solar system. Welcome to Protocol 7, Admiral Chen said, also known as Project Prometheus. Dr. Marcus Webb stepped up to the central console and began typing commands. The holographic display zoomed in on Earth, showing thousands of red dots scattered across the planet's surface. Every red dot is a hidden facility, Webb explained. We've been building them for 30 years, ever since our deep space sensors first detected alien activity in nearby systems. We knew this day would come. President Santos stared at the display. How many people know about this? About 50,000 worldwide, Chen replied. Scientists, engineers, military personnel, all sworn to absolute secrecy, all working toward one goal, making sure humanity would be ready when the aliens came. Elena watched as the display showed underground bases beneath major cities, hidden installations in remote mountains, and submarine factories in ocean trenches. What exactly have you been building down there? Webb smiled for the first time since the alien encounter. Everything the Galactic Council thinks we're too primitive to possess. The display changed, showing technical specifications that made Elena's head spin. Faster than light engines that could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of years. Weapon systems based on principles she didn't recognize. Defensive shields that could protect entire planets. The aliens have been watching us, Webb continued, but we've been feeding them false information since day one. Every satellite they monitored was showing them what we wanted them to see. Primitive chemical rockets, basic nuclear technology, simple computers. Meanwhile, the real development was happening in facilities they never knew existed. Admiral Chen pulled up another set of displays. Our space program hasn't been limited to what NASA shows the public. We've had ships traveling to other star systems for 15 years. We've studied alien technology, learned their weaknesses, and prepared countermeasures. Elena felt a mixture of excitement and terror. How is this possible? The resources alone must be enormous. We've had help, President Santos said quietly. Not all alien species are members of the Galactic Council. Some have been secretly supporting us. The display showed images of beings Elena didn't recognize from the council meeting. These aliens looked different, less intimidating, more friendly. The Kepler Collective, Webb explained, a group of species that broke away from the council 500 years ago. They've been hiding in the outer rim of the galaxy, and they've been teaching us everything they know. Why would they help us? Elena asked. Because they see in humanity something they lost long ago, Admiral Chen said. The willingness to fight for freedom. Every other species either joined the council willingly or was crushed completely. We're the first species in centuries that has the technology and the determination to actually resist. The display changed again, showing what looked like a massive construction project in the asteroid belt. Elena could see dozens of large structures being built in zero gravity, each one bigger than a city. Our fleet, Chen said proudly. The council thinks we have maybe 50 ships, all primitive. They have no idea we've built over 3,000 vessels, each one incorporating the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Elena stared at the ships on the display. They didn't look like anything she had imagined. Instead of the sleek, smooth design she expected, they looked organic, almost alive. Their surfaces seemed to shift and change as she watched. They're beautiful, she whispered. They're more than that, Webb said. Each ship has an artificial intelligence core. True AI, not just advanced programming. The Council banned AI development 3,000 years ago after what they call the synthetic wars. They're terrified of it. Elena felt a chill. Are we sure that's safe? Our AIs are different, Webb assured her. They're not trying to replace organic life. They're working with us as partners. Each ship's AI has volunteered to serve humanity. They believe in our cause. Admiral Chen brought up tactical displays showing Earth's orbital space. The Council's monitoring stations went offline 6 hours ago. They probably think it's just equipment failure, but we've actually been jamming them for years. Now we're letting them know they've been blind. Elena watched as dozens of human ships decloaked around Earth. They had been there all along, hidden by technology the Council couldn't detect. The aliens gave us 72 hours, President Santos said. How long do we actually have? Based on our intelligence, they'll send an advance fleet first, Admiral Chen replied. About 500 ships. They'll expect to overwhelm us quickly and force surrender. When that fails, they'll send the main battle group. Will we be ready? Elena asked. Webb grinned. We've been ready for 20 years. The question is whether the Council is ready for us. The central display showed a countdown timer. 67 hours and 32 minutes remaining. There's something else, Admiral Chen said, her expression becoming serious. We need to talk about the other species the Council has integrated. Our scouts have found them. New images appeared on the display. Elena saw worlds covered in massive agricultural complexes, where billions of beings worked in conditions that could only be described as slavery. Other planets showed mining operations that had stripped entire continents bare. The Council doesn't relocate primitive species to better worlds, Webb said grimly. They turn them into slave labor. The ones they can't use. Those planets are empty now. Elena felt sick. How many? 23 species over the past 1,000 years, Chen replied. Hundreds of billions of individuals, all either enslaved or eliminated. That settles it then, President Santos said firmly. We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every species that suffered under Council rule. Elena looked around the room at the displays showing humanity's hidden strength. Ships that could cross impossible distances, weapons that could reshape matter itself, and artificial minds that had chosen to fight alongside their human creators. When this is over, she said, the galaxy will never be the same. Admiral Chen nodded. That's the idea. The Council has ruled through fear for 12,000 years. It's time someone showed them what real power looks like. The countdown continued. 67 hours and 28 minutes. In hidden bases across Earth, millions of people who had worked in secret for decades began their final preparations. The masquerade was over. Humanity was about to show the galaxy its true face. Elena thought about Ambassador Zekthai and his shocked reaction to humanity's refusal. The alien had said no species had ever resisted the Council. He was about to learn why humans would be the first to succeed. The Council's advanced fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, exactly 72 hours after the ultimatum was given. 500 ships arranged themselves in a battle formation that had intimidated species across the galaxy for thousands of years. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's flagship. Around her, the crew worked quietly at their stations. The ship's artificial intelligence, which called itself Marcus after Dr. Webb, provided constant updates through speakers that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. Enemy fleet has assumed standard intimidation formation, Marcus reported in a calm voice. They're broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies. Let them broadcast, Chen said. Are our ships in position? All 3,000 vessels ready for combat, Marcus confirmed. The enemy still cannot detect us, Chen smiled grimly. Human stealth technology was based on principles the Council had never encountered. Instead of simply hiding from sensors, human ships existed in a slightly different dimensional phase. To Council instruments, they simply weren't there. Through the view screen, Chen could see the alien fleet approaching Earth. The ships were massive, each 1 kilometers long and covered in weapon ports. They moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy shields that could deflect any known weapon. Admiral, came a voice from the communications station. We're receiving a transmission from the Council Fleet Commander. Put it through, Chen ordered. The view screen showed an alien she didn't recognize. It had gray skin covered in scales, 6 arms, and eyes that glowed with red light. When it spoke, the words came with a mechanical translation overlay. I am Battle Commander Vorthak of the Council Pacification Fleet, it said. Humans of Earth, you have defied the Council's generous offer. This action cannot be tolerated. You have one final chance to surrender. Lower your primitive defenses and prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in the total destruction of your species. Chen stood up from her command chair. Open a channel. Channel open, Admiral. Battle Commander Vorthak, Chen said clearly. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Your threats don't impress us. We rejected your term 72 hours ago, and that decision stands. The alien commander's eyes flared brighter. Your arrogance is astounding. Do you not see the force arrayed against you? 500 ships of the line, each one capable of reducing your planet to ash. I see 500 targets, Chen replied coldly. Nothing more. Vorthak made a sound that might have been laughter. You humans truly are primitive, very well. Let this be a lesson to any other species who might consider defying Council authority. The transmission ended. Chen sat back down and looked at her crew. All stations prepare for combat. Admiral, Marcus said. The enemy fleet is charging weapons. They're targeting major population centers. Then let's not give them the chance, Chen said. All ships decloak. Attack pattern Omega. Around Earth, 3,000 human ships suddenly appeared in space. The Council fleet, which had been expecting to face perhaps 50 primitive vessels, found themselves surrounded by a force 6 times their size. The human ships looked nothing like traditional spacecraft. They seemed to flow and shift as they moved, their hulls rippling like liquid metal. Energy patterns danced across their surfaces in colors that had no names. Impossible, Battle Commander Vorthak said, his voice carrying across all frequencies. Where did they come from? Admiral Chen opened a channel to all human vessels. This is Defiance Actual. The Council came to our home with threats of genocide. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity. All ships, weapons free. The battle began with a sound that no one in space should have been able to hear. A deep, thrumming note that seemed to come from the human ships themselves. It was the sound of 3,000 artificial intelligences singing a war song in perfect harmony. Human weapons were unlike anything the Council had ever faced. Instead of energy beams or kinetic projectiles, they fired streams of disrupted matter, antimatter held in containment fields that collapsed on impact. When they struck Council ships, the results were devastating. The first Council vessel to die was a heavy cruiser. The human antimatter beam hit its forward shields and simply passed through them as if they weren't there. The beam struck the ship's hull and the entire front half of the vessel simply ceased to exist. Shields are ineffective. Vorthak screamed into his communicator. All ships, evasive maneuvers. But the human ships moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. They didn't turn or bank like normal spacecraft. Instead, they phased in and out of normal space, appearing behind enemy vessels, firing and disappearing before return fire could reach them. The Council ships tried to form defensive formations, but the humans attacked from impossible angles. Ships would suddenly appear above or below the Council fleet, fire devastating barrages and vanish again. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as Council ships died one by one. The human AI network was coordinating the attack with precision no organic mind could match. Each shot was perfectly placed, each movement calculated to maximum effect. "Admiral," Marcus reported, "we're receiving panic communications from multiple Council vessels. They're requesting reinforcements." "How many ships have we lost?" Chen asked. "None, Admiral. The enemy hasn't been able to target us effectively." Chen nodded. The phase shift technology that hid human ships also made them nearly impossible to hit. Council weapons simply passed through space where the ships appeared to be. Battle Commander Vorthak's ship, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed any human vessel, turned to flee. But before it could activate its hyperspace drive, a dozen human ships materialized around it. The dreadnought's weapons fired in all directions, but the beams passed through the human ships without effect. In response, the humans opened fire with their most powerful weapons. Streams of coherent antimatter struck the dreadnought from 12 different angles. The massive ship's shields flared and failed. Its armor, designed to withstand the most powerful weapons known to the Council, melted like ice under the human assault. The great ship broke apart in a silent explosion that lit up space like a newborn star. When the light faded, the battle was over. Of the 500 Council ships that had entered the solar system, only 87 remained. They hung motionless in space, their crews in shock at what they had witnessed. Admiral Chen opened a channel to the surviving ships. "This is Admiral Chen to the remaining Council vessels. You came here planning to commit genocide. Instead, you've learned what happens when predators meet apex predators." She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the wreckage of hundreds of Council ships. "You have one chance to leave our system alive."
Take this message back to your Council. Humanity is not your prey.
"We are not helpless primitives waiting to be enslaved. We are something your species has never encountered before. A young race with old souls and new technology." The surviving Council ships began moving toward the edge of the system. They moved slowly like wounded animals limping away from a fight they never should have started. "Admiral," Marcus said, "we're detecting hyperspace signatures. They're fleeing." Chen nodded. "Let them go. They have a story to tell." As the last Council ship disappeared into hyperspace, alarms began sounding throughout the human fleet. "What is it?" Chen asked. "Long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements throughout Council space," Marcus reported. "It appears that news of our victory is spreading faster than we expected." Elena Vasquez's voice came through the communication system from Earth. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from our deep space monitoring stations. The galaxy is in chaos. Dozens of species are rising up against Council rule." Admiral Chen smiled. The Battle of Earth had lasted 17 minutes. The war for galactic freedom was just beginning. "All ships maintain alert status," she ordered. This was just the first round. In the wreckage floating around Earth, pieces of Council technology drifted through space. Human recovery vessels were already moving to collect them. Each fragment would be studied, analyzed, and used to make humanity's defenses even stronger. The galaxy had learned a hard truth. Earth was no longer the helpless world it appeared to be. Humanity had revealed its true strength, and nothing would ever be the same again. The news traveled through the galaxy faster than hyperspace itself. Within hours of the Battle of Earth, species that had been silent for thousands of years began stirring. In the Vega system, the Zephyrian collective looked up at their industrial overseers for the first time in 2 millennia and said a word that had been forbidden for generations. "No." Elena Vasquez stood in the emergency session of the Galactic Communications Center, watching streams of data pour in from across known space. The facility had been built in secret beneath the Swiss Alps. its massive antenna arrays disguised as environmental research stations. "Report," she said to Dr. Patricia Liu, the center's director. "It's incredible," Liu said, her voice filled with excitement and worry. "We're receiving messages from 47 different star systems. Species we've never heard of are broadcasting on open channels, declaring independence from Council rule." The main display showed a map of the galaxy, with points of light flickering across its spiral arms. Each light represented a world in rebellion. "The Zephyrians were the first," Liu continued. "They were once the galaxy's greatest engineers before the Council forced them into agricultural slavery. They've seized control of their orbital factories and are building ships of their own design." Elena watched the tactical display. "What kind of ships?" "Unknown configuration. Our long-range sensors show construction patterns we don't recognize. Whatever they're building, it's big," another technician called out from across the room. "Dr. Vasquez, we're getting a transmission from the Thalassian deep colonies." Elena had read about the Thalassians in the intelligence files, an aquatic species that had been restricted to shallow water worlds by Council decree. Despite being natural deep ocean explorers, "Put it through," Elena ordered. The display showed beings that looked like living water given shape and purpose. Their forms flowed and changed as they spoke, and their voices carried the sound of ocean depths. "Humans of Earth," the lead Thalassian said, "we have heard of your victory against the Council's war fleet. For 3,000 years we have been kept from our true home, the deep ocean worlds of the galactic core. Today we return to the depths." Elena leaned forward. "What do you need from us?" "Only what you have already given," the Thalassian replied. "Hope. We go now to reclaim what was stolen from us. The Council's deep-sea monitoring stations have mysteriously stopped functioning." The transmission ended, but Elena could see new signals appearing on the galactic map. Points of light were flickering on around ocean worlds throughout Council space. Dr. Liu pulled up another set of displays. "Elena, you need to see this. We're getting reports from the Council's core systems. There's widespread panic among their leadership." The screen showed intercepted Council communications. Elena could see alien leaders arguing frantically in languages the translation computers were struggling to process. "They're scared," Elena realized. For the first time in 12,000 years, they're actually afraid. "It gets better," Liu said with a grim smile. "Admiral Chen's task force has been busy. They're not just defending Earth anymore." The display changed to show human ships appearing in 7 different star systems simultaneously. They weren't attacking, they were simply there, broadcasting a single message on all frequencies. Elena recognized her own voice coming through the speakers. It was the statement she had recorded just after the battle. "To all species seeking freedom from Council oppression, humanity stands with you. Earth offers protection to any world that chooses independence over slavery. The age of forced submission is over. How are the Council forces responding?" Helena asked. "That's where it gets interesting," Liu replied. "Council Admiral Vorthak, the one who escaped from Earth, has been demanding immediate deployment of the pacification fleet. But the Council leadership is hesitating." Elena felt a chill. Why would they hesitate? They have thousands of ships. "Because they don't know how advanced we really are," came Admiral Chen's voice from the communication system. She was calling in from the Defiance, now patrolling the outer edge of the solar system. "Elena, we need to talk. Something big is happening." The secure channel opened and Chen's image appeared on the screen. Behind her, Elena could see the bridge of the flagship bustling with activity. "Admiral, what's your status?" Elena asked. "We've been monitoring Council fleet movements," Chen replied. "They're pulling ships back from frontier systems and concentrating their forces around their core worlds. But here's the strange part. They're also sending diplomatic signals to species they haven't spoken to in centuries." Elena frowned. "What kind of diplomatic signals?" "Trade negotiations, territorial agreements, even apology messages to species they've oppressed. It's like they're trying to shore up their remaining alliances before something happens." Dr. Liu brought up new data on her console. "Admiral, we're seeing something else. Economic disruption throughout Council space. The crystalline merchants have declared neutrality and are negotiating independent trade agreements with the rebel systems." Elena had heard of the crystalline merchants. They were living geometric forms that controlled most of the galaxy's commerce. Their decision to break with the Council was huge. "There's more," Chen continued. "We've been approached by the Kepler Collective. They want to meet." Elena's eyes widened. The Kepler Collective were the secret aliens who had been helping humanity develop its technology. They had remained hidden for centuries, but now they wanted direct contact. Where? Elena asked. Neutral space, 3 light-years from the Vega system. They're sending a diplomatic vessel. Elena made her decision quickly. I'll take a ship and meet them. We need to know what they're planning. Elena, Chen said seriously, there's something else. Our deep space sensors have detected massive construction projects in the Council's home systems. They're building something big, bigger than anything we've seen before. Elena felt her stomach tighten. How big? Moon-sized, maybe larger, and it's heavily armed. The implications were staggering. If the Council was building superweapons, the rebellion could be crushed before it really began. How long until it's operational? Elena asked. Unknown, but based on the construction patterns, possibly weeks rather than months. Elena looked at the galactic map, with its flickering points of rebellion spreading across known space. Humanity had started something that was changing the entire galaxy, but the Council wasn't going to give up without a fight. Dr. Liu, I want constant monitoring of all rebel systems. If the Council moves against any of them, we need to know immediately. Already on it, Leo replied. Elena, there's something else. We're getting reports that some Council member species are starting to question their loyalty. The hegemonic overseers, the ones who gave us the ultimatum, are facing internal resistance. Elena thought about Ambassador Zekthai and his shocked reaction when humanity had refused to surrender. Even among the Council's own people, cracks were beginning to show. Keep me informed of everything, she said. I'm going to meet with the Kepler Collective. Maybe they can tell us what the Council is really planning. As Elena prepared to leave for the diplomatic meeting, she watched the galactic map one more time. The rebellion was spreading, but she knew this was just the beginning. The Council had ruled through fear and overwhelming force for thousands of years. They wouldn't give up their power easily. In the deep space monitoring stations scattered throughout human territory, technicians tracked the movement of Council forces. The enemy was consolidating their strength, preparing for a counterattack that would make the Battle of Earth look like a minor skirmish. But across the galaxy, on worlds that had been silent for millennia, beings who had forgotten what freedom felt like were remembering how to fight. The Zephyrians were building their mysterious ships. The Thalassians were reclaiming their ocean worlds. Dozens of other species were rising up, inspired by humanity's example. The galaxy was awakening from a sleep that had lasted 12,000 years. The question was whether the combined forces of freedom could stand against the Council's final desperate gamble. Elena looked out at the stars through the center's observation windows. Somewhere out there, the Council was preparing their ultimate weapon, but humanity and its allies were preparing too. The real war was about to begin. The Council's final weapon arrived in the Sol system like a nightmare made real. The ancient dreadnought Eternal Dominion was larger than Earth's moon, its black surface covered in weapons that had crushed rebellions for over 5,000 years. It had been the Council's ultimate threat for so long that most species had forgotten it was real. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the massive ship approach Earth. Around her, the crew worked quietly, but she could feel their fear. Even with all of humanity's advanced technology, the Eternal Dominion was something beyond imagination. How big is that thing? Someone whispered. 12,000 kilometers in diameter. The ship's AI, Marcus reported. Mass approximately equal to a small planet. Weapon systems beyond our current understanding. Elena Vasquez's voice came through the communication system from the diplomatic vessel returning from her meeting with the Kepler Collective. Admiral, I'm still 6 hours out, but I have critical information from our allies. Go ahead, Chen replied. The Eternal Dominion isn't just a weapon. It's a reality manipulator. The Council built it using technology they stole from a species they wiped out 8,000 years ago. It can literally rewrite the laws of physics in a localized area. Chen felt her blood run cold. What does that mean for our defenses? It means our phase shift technology, our antimatter weapons, even our AI systems might simply stop working when they get close enough. On Earth, Dr. Marcus Webb stood in the deepest level of Project Prometheus, surrounded by technology that represented humanity's greatest achievement. The reality anchor system had been theoretical until 3 months ago, but the approaching threat had pushed human science beyond all previous limits. Status report, he said to his team. Quantum field generators at maximum output. Dr. Sarah Kim reported. The anchor field is stable and expanding. Webb watched the displays showing the invisible field spreading out from Earth. The reality anchor was humanity's answer to the Council's ultimate weapon. If the Eternal Dominion could rewrite physics, then humanity would lock physics in place. Range? Webb asked. Currently extending to lunar orbit and growing, Kim replied. At full power, we should be able to protect the entire inner solar system. Through the facility's communication system, they could hear Admiral Chen coordinating the defense. 3,000 human ships had taken positions around Earth, but everyone knew this battle would be different from the first one. All ships. This is Defiance Actual. Chen's voice carried across the fleet. The enemy has capabilities we've never faced before. Stay within the anchor field at all costs. If their reality manipulation affects your ships, retreat immediately to Earth orbit. The Eternal Dominion continued its approach, and as it got closer, strange things began happening around it. Space itself seemed to bend and twist. Stars visible behind the massive ship appeared to move and dance. The laws of physics were becoming fluid. Elena's ship finally arrived in Earth orbit, and she immediately transported to the Defiance's bridge. She brought with her intelligence from the Kepler collective that changed everything. The Council doesn't just want to destroy Earth, she told Chen. They want to make an example so devastating that no species will ever dare to rebel again. The Eternal Dominion is going to erase us from reality itself. Chen nodded grimly. Good thing we're about to show them that reality doesn't cooperate with tyrants. The massive Council ship entered the outer edge of Earth's solar system, and immediately things began going wrong for them. The reality distortions that surrounded the Eternal Dominion started flickering and failing. What's happening to their field manipulation? Elena asked. Marcus, the ship's AI, provided the answer. Dr. Webb's reality anchor is working. We're forcing normal physics to remain stable within the solar system. Their exotic weapons are losing coherence. On the Council ship, panic was spreading through the command center. Prime Director Zalmesh, the ancient being who had ruled the Council for over 3,000 years, watched in disbelief as his ultimate weapon began malfunctioning. Impossible, he said, his mental voice carrying to every being on the ship. The reality manipulators have never failed. How are they maintaining quantum stability? His science officer, a crystalline being whose body pulsed with confused light, provided the terrifying answer. The humans have developed some form of physics anchor. They're preventing us from altering local reality. Zalmesh felt something he hadn't experienced in millennia. Genuine fear. The Eternal Dominion was powerful, but most of that power came from its ability to make enemy weapons simply stop working. If the humans could prevent that, activate all conventional weapon systems, he ordered. Prepare for standard ship-to-ship combat. But the human fleet wasn't waiting for the Council to adapt. Admiral Chen gave the order that would change galactic history. All ships, attack pattern Alpha. Target their reality manipulation arrays first. The human fleet moved as one, 3,000 ships diving toward the massive Council vessel. The Eternal Dominion opened fire with weapons that could destroy entire fleets, but the humans weren't where the weapons expected them to be. Without the reality manipulation to track and target the phase-shifting human ships, the Council's ancient weapon systems were firing blind. Massive energy beams passed through empty space while the human fleet struck from impossible angles. The battle was fierce, but brief. Human antimatter weapons, protected by the reality anchor field, tore through the Eternal Dominion's defenses like they were made of paper. The ship that had terrified the galaxy for millennia began breaking apart under the coordinated assault. But as the great ship died, something unexpected happened. Deep within its core, emergency systems activated protocols that hadn't been used for thousands of years. All ships, emergency retreat, Elena shouted as sensors detected massive energy buildup within the dying vessel. It's going to self-destruct. The human fleet scattered as the Eternal Dominion began its final gambit. Instead of a simple explosion, the ship was trying to create a reality cascade, a wave of altered physics that would spread throughout the galaxy, making faster-than-light travel impossible and trapping every species in their home systems forever. But Dr. Webb's reality anchor held firm. The cascade wave struck Earth's quantum field generators and simply stopped, the exotic energies unable to propagate beyond the solar system's edge. When the light faded and the debris settled, silence filled space around Earth. The Eternal Dominion was gone, reduced to scattered fragments that would take years to catalog. With it died the Council's last hope of maintaining their ancient tyranny. Admiral Chen opened a channel to the entire galaxy. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force, broadcasting to all inhabited worlds. The Galactic Council's reign of terror is over. The Eternal Dominion has been destroyed. The galaxy is free." Across known space, the response was immediate. On Zephyr Prime, the Industrial Revolution that had been suppressed for 2,000 years resumed with a roar of ancient machinery coming back to life. In the deep oceans of the Thalassian worlds, cities that had been abandoned for millennia began to shine with light again. Elena stood beside Chen on the Defiance's bridge, watching as the galactic communication network lit up with messages from hundreds of species. Some were offers of alliance, others were requests for help, and many were simply expressions of gratitude. "What happens now?" Elena asked. "Now we do the hard part," Chen replied. "Winning the war was easy compared to building the peace." President Maria Santos appeared on the communication screen from Earth. "Elena, Admiral, we're receiving formal surrender requests from over half the remaining Council systems. But about 20 systems are still holding out, including their core worlds." Elena nodded. She had expected this. The hardest line Council supporters won't give up until forced to. But without the Eternal Dominion, they don't have the power to enforce their will anymore. "There's more good news," Santos continued. "The Kepler Collective has agreed to come out of hiding and help coordinate the new galactic government. They're calling it the Free Systems Alliance." Admiral Chen smiled. "I like the sound of that." Over the following weeks, the galaxy transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The rigid hierarchy that had controlled civilizations for 12,000 years crumbled as species rediscovered their independence. Trade routes that had been restricted for centuries opened up. Technologies that had been suppressed emerged from hidden archives. Earth became the de facto capital of the new alliance, not through conquest but through the simple fact that humanity had been the first to say no to the Council and make it stick. The planet that had once been scheduled for integration was now the symbol of galactic freedom. Dr. Webb's reality anchor technology was shared freely with all allied species, ensuring that no future tyrant could use exotic physics to suppress entire civilizations. The age of forced scientific stagnation was over. But in the deep core systems where the old Council still clung to power, ancient beings plotted their return. They spoke of older threats, of things that lurked in the dark between galaxies, of the reasons why the Council's rigid order had been necessary. Elena stood in her new office in the orbital city that was being built around Earth, looking out at the construction ships from dozens of different species.